What if a man born as a slave, with no freedom, no status, no control over his own life, became one of the greatest masters of the mind in human history? This is the story of Epictetus, the man who proved that true freedom isn't granted by society, but discovered within the mind. Epictetus wasn't born into privilege. He wasn't born into wealth, education, or power. He was born into chains, a life where every decision belonged to someone else. Yet from the lowest position imaginable, he uncovered the highest form of strength. Not physical power, not influence, but the unshakable ability to govern himself, something even emperors struggled to achieve. In this video, we step into the extraordinary journey of a man who owned nothing, yet gifted humanity one of its most enduring philosophies. A philosophy capable of calming the mind, overcoming fear, and guiding us toward a life of clarity and peace. Epictetus was born into the Roman world, a world where a person's fate could be decided by the slightest whim of someone more powerful. He didn't choose where he was born. He didn't choose his master. From childhood, Epictetus lived as someone whose every step, every breath, and every future belonged to someone else. Yet, in the middle of a life that seemed completely stripped of control, something remarkable happened. Epictetus began to observe. He watched the pain of the other slaves. He watched the fear in their eyes whenever their master grew angry. He watched the greed, the anger, and the arrogance of those in power, and he began to wonder, why is it that those who are free seem enslaved by their own emotions, while we, the enslaved, sometimes find moments of peace? No one could have imagined that from these quiet observations, Epictetus would build the foundation of one of the most enduring philosophies in history. The first truth Epictetus discovered: there are things we can control, and things completely outside our control. The strongest men of his era might have controlled his body, but they could not control his mind. And in that realization, Epictetus found his first lesson. Freedom is not a gift. Freedom is a skill. When you understand the boundary between what you can control and what you cannot,
Prophecy.
You reclaim power over your life. Not through force, not through status, but through mastery of your inner world. A seed of philosophy born from suffering. Day after day, Epictetus witnessed the outbursts of his master, the shouting, the cruel punishments, the irrational demands. But he began to look at these things differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "What can I learn from this?" And that question changed everything. Epictetus came to understand that suffering is not the enemy. It is the material from which strength is formed. No one wants pain. But if pain arrives, it can become the greatest teacher. He realized one of the core principles of Stoicism. Events are just events. It is our judgment of those events that creates suffering, or peace. From a powerless slave, he started to become someone stronger than the men who commanded him. Not because he fought back with violence, but because he learned to control how he perceived the world. Even while living as a slave, Epictetus never allowed his mind to be imprisoned. And then, one day, fate shifted. After many years of servitude, he was finally granted his freedom. But Epictetus did not celebrate. He did not seek revenge. He didn't chase wealth, pleasure, or a new identity. He simply paused, looked back at the life behind him, and realized something profound. I became free long before these chains ever left my wrists. Freedom, for Epictetus, was not a legal status. It was the ability to govern his thoughts, to choose his responses, and to remain still in a world full of chaos. From slave to teacher. After gaining his physical freedom, Epictetus traveled to Greece and opened a small philosophy school. No grand building. No political support. No fame. Yet students from all corners of the ancient world sought him out. They didn't come to learn from a celebrated scholar. They came because he understood pain, understood fear, understood powerlessness, and more importantly, understood how to rise above all of it. Epictetus didn't teach through theory. He taught through the scars of his own life. He taught that fate cannot be escaped, but it can be understood. That the world cannot always be changed, but our perception of it can. That true strength is not found in dominance, but in self-mastery. 3 of Epictetus's most powerful teachings. 1. Some things are in our control, and some things are not. This is the heart of Stoicism. Epictetus believed that if we tie our happiness to things outside our control, praise, luck, reputation, other people's actions, we will always live in turmoil. 2. It's not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. He taught that emotions do not come from the outside world, but from the stories we tell ourselves about what happens. Change the story, and the emotional world changes with it. 3. Freedom is the mastery of oneself. A person may be physically imprisoned yet mentally free, if they govern their desires, fears, and impulses. But a person who has everything and still cannot control their anger or their greed, that person is a slave to themselves. The moment Epictetus became a true master of the mind, it wasn't when he gained his freedom. It wasn't when he opened his school. It wasn't even when his words spread across the empire. It was the moment he realized that suffering could become wisdom, that pain could become clarity, and that fear could become peace. Students left his lessons with a simple but life-changing realization. I cannot control the world, but I can control myself. More than 2,000 years have passed since Epictetus walked the dusty streets of Rome and Greece. Empires have fallen. Languages have changed. The world has evolved beyond anything he could have imagined. But his wisdom still speaks to us. Because the human mind, our fears, our desires, our anxieties, has changed very little. Epictetus understood something that even today many of us forget. You may not choose your circumstances, but you always choose how you meet them. And that single idea has the power to transform an entire life. Lesson 1. Focus on what you can control. In a world filled with uncertainty, Epictetus's most enduring advice is deceptively simple. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. Today, we worry about opinions, news, outcomes, and future events that may never happen. We cling to the illusion that everything must be under our command. Epictetus whispers to us across centuries. Your peace should never depend on things beyond your power. If it's your effort, your character, your choices, hold on. If it's the world, fate, or the behavior of others, release it. This is not passivity. This is clarity. Lesson 2. Reframe your suffering. Epictetus taught that suffering is not a punishment, but an opportunity, a forge where character is shaped. In modern life, pain often feels like an interruption. A broken relationship, a lost job, betrayal, illness, failure. But Epictetus would say, do not ask why this happened to you. Ask who you can become because of it. Pain is a teacher, one that arrives uninvited, but often leaves us stronger, clearer, and more compassionate. Lesson 3. Discipline your mind, and the world changes. To Epictetus, the greatest victory a human can achieve is victory over oneself. over impulses, over fear, over the restless mind that refuses to be still. He believed, no one is free until they can master their own thoughts. Today, distraction is everywhere. Notifications pull us in every direction. The mind becomes a battlefield. But Epictetus reminds us that peace is not found outside. It is cultivated within. A disciplined mind can withstand chaos, just as a steady flame can survive the wind. Lesson 4: Live with purpose, not approval. Epictetus warned against seeking validation from others. He saw that a life built on praise is a fragile life. If you live for the approval of others, you will die when they withhold it. Modern life magnifies this struggle. Social media, expectations, comparison. But Epictetus encourages us to choose a deeper path. Live by values, not applause. Live by principles, not trends. A life lived with integrity becomes unshakable. The legacy that still guides us. Epictetus left no wealth, no monuments, no power behind. But he left something far more enduring. A roadmap for inner freedom. And for anyone today who feels overwhelmed, lost, anxious, or powerless, his message remains a lifeline. Your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. That is the freedom no one can take away. That is the strength no one can give you. And that is the wisdom Epictetus gifted to the world. A wisdom still alive, still healing, still guiding. Epictetus has been gone for nearly 2,000 years. Yet his presence remains, not in statues, not in monuments, but in every moment we choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, strength over fear. His story is not merely the story of a slave who became a philosopher. It is the story of a human being who found freedom in the one place no chains could reach, the mind. And each of us, though we may not wear the iron shackles he once did, carry our own invisible chains. Fear, anxiety, expectations, the judgment of others. Epictetus reminds us of a truth we so often forget. No one can break those chains for us, except ourselves. The only thing truly yours is your mind. The world may be unpredictable. People may hurt you. Life may turn in directions you never asked for. But through all of it, there is one power you never lose. The power to choose how you respond. And in that choice, freedom is born. If Epictetus, a man born in suffering, stripped of rights, controlled by others, could still find peace, then so can you. If he could rise above fear, anger, and helplessness, then so can you. And if someone whose hands were once bound by chains could become a master of the mind, then you, with all the opportunities of the modern world, have even more reason to rise above your circumstances and master yourself. Remember, you cannot control the storms of life, but you can learn to steer the ship. And that is the greatest gift Epictetus left for us all. Thank you for walking with us through the life and wisdom of Epictetus. A journey not only into history, but into the quiet corners of our own minds. If these ideas resonated with you, let them stay for a moment. Let the silence after this video become a place where you listen to yourself. Where a small shift in perspective might open a completely new way of living. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be perfect. It simply invites you to be a little more mindful than you were yesterday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you wish to continue exploring stories and philosophies that nourish the inner self, consider subscribing to Stoic Scrolls. Your presence helps this space grow quietly, meaningfully, and with intention. Until the next video, may you walk gently and return often to the stillness within.